Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Overcoming Infertility podcast. So, I'm quite excited because the month of June is World Infertility Awareness Month, and to mark this month, I'll have a special guest for each weekly episode. And each guest is an expert in their field, will be sharing their story, their mission, providing key takeaways for listeners on how to overcome any fertility challenges that they may be facing. And so today, I have the privilege of interviewing the beautiful, intelligent, good friend, Dr. Elizabeth Ono Esan. So, Ono is a family medicine practitioner with about 2 decades of clinical experience. She's a partner in an established practice in the UK where she lives. As a wife, she spent well over 15 years struggling with infertility and was finally delivered of a baby a few years ago. So Ono is now a mother to a gorgeous little boy. And today she'll share with us her story on how she overcame infertility. Ono, you're welcome to the show.
Hello, this is so nice to be here. Wow, I'm kind of excited, and yeah, well done. Taking this on and just telling people to talk about infertility, because I think
Yeah.
sometimes we keep these things under wraps so much. People are scared to talk about things or even reach out to ask for help,
Yeah.
and get advice or find out, oh, what's this person's story or how can I approach mine or get a
Yeah.
yeah. I think it's quite and I'm quite I consider it a privilege. And thank
It's
you
a
for having me.
privilege to have you. I'm so glad. Thank you for accepting my invitation. Thanks for coming on. Even before we started recording, you shared so many nuggets. I'm like, I need all these nuggets for myself, like for life right now. So maybe we'll just start with you telling us a little bit about yourself. Anything I didn't say in the intro that you'd like to let us know?
Oh God! After that intro, what can I say? But yeah, I think most people that would get to be happy-go-lucky, fun-loving
Yeah.
person. Yeah, that's I love
Yeah.
music, like to
Yep.
dance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm married. I'm married for about 22 years now to a very wonderful
Yay.
man, and we have a gorgeous little boy. And as you said,
Yeah.
and God being so good, it took us quite a while to get to this point, to arrive at this. But I think that journey was well worth it. I
Yeah.
mean, it's our 22nd wedding anniversary, and I would say
Yay.
I wouldn't have changed anything. So, I mean, my husband Tuliosa is fantastic, and I think I'll still have gone on the same journey with him. Um,
Stop. Oh, wow. That is so deep. You would have gone on the same journey. Like if
I,
you could rewind time.
if I could rewind, yeah. I mean, it was yeah.
Wow.
There was the pain, there's the joy, but I mean, I think the thing I found out about life is life really is a journey, and I'm always saying
Mm,
to God that I pray to learn the lessons I need to learn each time, so that I don't have to learn them again and again.
yeah.
Because sometimes things you happen and you feel like you're repeating a cycle, and and maybe it would feel like a rinse and repeat, but every step of the way you're actually also learning something, so
Yeah.
and becoming a
Yeah.
better version of yourself. You hope, and that's the aim in life, no matter what you
Yeah.
go through, no matter what you go through, to become a better
Yeah.
version of yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Line upon line, precept upon
yeah,
precept, a
till we
little
get
bit
to
at a
the
time.
state of enlightenment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
So, would you like to tell us a little bit about your infertility journey? What was it like? Any specific things you'd like to share?
Oh yeah. So where would I start from? So I mean, I
Maybe
think
just maybe just give us like a brief overview if there's something like that. you
I'm
know.
not going to go into the every nugget of every single cycle and what we did.
No,
Well,
no,
no,
definitely
none of
not.
that.
Yeah.
No, we haven't even got time for that.
Yeah.
For the years we did, but essentially, when we got married, we decided, okay, would you know start out, we came to UK and we are going to start out our careers and things. So having children was not a big thing in our minds at the time. But at the same time, we were not really trying to prevent it. So we're like, okay, if it happens, it happens. Yeah. And
Yeah.
then you get busy and, get into the 3-4 years and it's not happening. And then the pressure starts to come. Everybody's like, oh, what are you guys doing? What's happening here? So we, after after that sort of 3-4 years, okay, you know what, we need to probably start looking at things. So you approach the hospital, fertility centers, you get a test done, and be like, oh yeah, that's fine. These things are okay. There's nothing wrong. Keep trying, and then you go, okay, maybe we'll try some ovulation induction, that sort of thing, and then.
Yeah.
Somewhere along the line, we were sort of teeing up for that, and then my husband took ill. He had to stop and stall for a bit, and
Yeah.
affected lots of things in that sense. And then the next thing that we knew was we had to go for IVF and for, ICSI, which is where they sort of inject the sperm into the egg. So we're going through that, and then in all of this, nothing happened, nothing worked. We went from clinic to clinic, and then as I was saying to you, we decided, okay, I'd heard, this urologist, finding out information from um, fertility friends, websites and things. Oh, there's a urologist in America who was really good, so we're going to go that way. And we heard about Celine Dion's story, and she, we helped her get her twins. So we're like, okay, we'll go to Cornell. And then going there, and I think this is the point where it changed for me, because all that bit where you cycle after cycle, you're failing, you're crying, you're wondering what did I do wrong? People are saying, must have done something wrong, or maybe someone will tell you from church, or bring this money, we'll pray.
So
All
did you
this
say
sort of
bring this money?
money. Yeah, like
What?
you get all sorts of things. Everybody trying to be helpful, saying that you're supposed to. This is what God is requiring of you: a seed. So the seed is your salary or something, those sort of things. Never minding that, well, if we give you our salary, how are we supposed to pay our rent, pay mortgage, pay, bills,
Yeah.
feed, that sort of thing. And so with all of that in your mind and all things that that have been going through those tears of the failed cycle, of the monthly bits, then even of the failed. So it was quite difficult. And then we went to the clinic, and then, as I said, I was saying, one Sunday morning, we're supposed to be in there, and I just walk in, and it hit me, because this was a Sunday morning.
Yeah.
People are usually doing other things, but this clinic was full with
Mm.
people from all walks of life, different parts of the world. I sat next to the one Philippines lady, sharing as we were talking to each other. I was like, my God, are you going to tell me that all this, it was mind blowing. I was like,
Yeah.
it made me realize this thing is bigger than myself. It wasn't just about me. I didn't,
Yeah.
in a way, it made me commonize it. So let's put it this way, I wasn't so special.
Mm.
It wasn't such a, because everybody was going through something, some
Mm.
form, that sort of thing. So it's made me realize that actually we are all God's children, and He's got all of us in. So even Abraham and Sarah that went through theirs,
Mm.
I mean, and he was a friend of God.
Mm-hmm.
They were, so it's not the case that they were not trying, God wasn't punishing them.
Mm-hmm.
It was not about punishment. It was not about that they had done something wrong or anything of that nature. It was just, this was the work that they had to go through,
Mm.
and to birth whatever kid was going to come through. So I think my outlook changed. I ditched all the negative feelings, all the insecurities, all my sense of, the sense of how maybe attaches. I'm like, my sense of worth is not attached to whether I have a child or
That's
not.
really deep. Please say that
That,
again. Please say that
yeah,
again.
I had to start asking myself, your sense of worth is not attached to whether you have a child or not. In fact, your sense of worth is not attached to anything apart from you being just,
Mm.
you have to be enough yourself.
Mm.
It's not attached to whether you're married to someone or not married to anybody, or you had to be enough yourself. And that's one thing this whole fertility thing taught me.
Yeah.
So I started asking myself this question about, so why do I want a child? Am I just really crying and wanting this so badly because that's what society has put on us, that this
Yeah.
is our definition of a good, thriving, successful life. That, oh yes, you're married, you have, is that why I want one? So I
Yeah.
had to start asking myself those deep questions,
Yeah.
and asking myself, I mean, even if we don't have one,
What
there's this,
next?
what next? Yes. So we got to a point where we realized we had to be enough. And then we came back to UK and other things have started happening. And then I found out I was diagnosed with endometriosis.
Oh,
In fact, I did not
wow.
know that that was going on so deeply. So other times when you have a cycle and it fails, and you'll be like, oh, maybe this is a bit of a blood cyst.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, okay, you think it could be endometriosis. So what do we do with that? Well, the solution is to get pregnant. That's what they kept
Mm-hmm.
on saying. The
Yeah.
solution is to get pregnant. So it's not like you could even have contraception or anything to stop having periods. So endometriosis is a situation where um, the lining of the womb sheds out of the womb. So monthly cycles, yeah,
Yeah.
your periods. So that sheds out of the womb and would spread to other parts of the body. So
Yeah.
it could most commonly, like pelvic areas, that sort of thing. So I had that
Yeah.
stuck and adhesions.
Yes, and it's
Um,
also really painful. Yeah.
tend to take on a lot of high pain threshold. So
Yep.
yeah, so you have a period and you think, oh, it's just a period.
Yeah.
So you don't worry about the pain. So it never really bothered. So I can't even say that the pain was such a big issue. There might have been a couple periods where they were painful, but I moved on and dealt with it. And then we also, the how heavy a period is
Mm-hmm.
also very subjective. So some people think, oh, my
Mm-hmm.
period is heavy, and they will just carry on.
Yeah.
Sometimes, unless maybe it was really debilitating and getting to the extent of flooding, and then some people might choose to seek help.
Yeah.
So that wasn't the case. So we didn't really sort of factor in. I think it
Yeah. So
was
it
really
wasn't really
just,
a red flag for
it
you.
wasn't a red flag. And at the same time, although by this time when we'd found out, I'd probably gone into, well, like 9 cycles. So there was the other thing of saying maybe the constant flooding of my system with estrogen for ovarian stimulations
Mm.
was a reason why I could have had it a bit more, in the sense that you kept on doing that and not achieving a pregnancy, made the endometriosis a bit worse in that
Okay.
sense. So
Okay.
because it feeds off estrogen as well. So I think that was, in that sense. So I had to. So when we are like, oh, and you go to another clinic and they tell you, oh, the solution is to get pregnant. So we'll try again,
Mm.
and it didn't happen. So none of this were taken, not even getting pregnant, not achieving a pregnancy at all.
So
And
that
then
sounds actually like it was a vicious cycle
it
because,
was a vision.
yeah, because there you are with endometriosis, which is a condition that could prevent, getting pregnant easily. And then the
Yeah,
solution you're given is that you should get pregnant. And then you
yeah.
were getting
More
cycles where you
estrogen.
were being stimulated and the estrogen
Yeah.
was worsening the endometriosis.
Yeah.
Wow, that must have been difficult.
Yeah, it was. I mean, so I had to start doing my own research as well. So
Okay.
finding out what would help, what will work. I mean, it got to a point, I think after that period when we came back from America, we said, okay, do nothing for a year.
Yeah.
So finding a clinic, I had to do research about finding different clinics and finding out different things that were going on in medicine. So there were some people that suggested things like frozen embryo cycles,
Mm-hmm.
where you would actually get the egg, have the embryo, and fertilize the eggs and have the embryos, and then would keep them so they could be kept, and then you can actually either down regulation, be to keep this period or self quiet for a bit, and then they'll try to put the embryo back in.
Yeah.
So you have cycles that are not associated to the stimulation. So we'll start doing something like banking, eggs, or banking the embryos in that sense.
Okay.
But then the other thing is that the more you are having cycles as well, the reserves start going down. So we're
Mm.
now having a situation where you do a cycle and we're like, oh, we couldn't get anything, or you do a cycle and we're like, oh, okay, we really got one. So I mean, it was looking dimmer and dimmer. So we went on to, so after going to clinics, and then somebody suggested, oh, there's a clinic in Spain, and they would be and they actually do things like donor eggs.
Okay.
And you could actually go to them, and so we booked a consultation. I went to them, and then I met this doctor who was like, looked at our review and everything, said, no, I think we can still try with yours again. I'm like,
Okay.
okay. All right, I accept. Let's do this.
Okay.
So he was actually, and I thank God that God directed our steps that way in that sense, because he was the one that actually we looked at the whole thing together, and I said, okay, if we're going to do this endometriosis at this point they told me it was also affecting my bowels.
Hmm.
I need to go and have the surgery as well. So we decided on the circle of actually banking um, embryos, and
Yeah.
then we could also test them to see, so do some pre-genetic determination for
Mm-hmm.
them to actually check how good they are and how viable, and then keep them and freeze them.
Okay.
And then there was something called an endometrial receptivity array where they also check for your lining to find out when is the best time for an implantation. So we had done this sort of work as well before. And then I went back to back in the UK, see my consultants and gynecology specialists to plan. So after to plan when to actually have my surgery, because I
Okay.
was determined that after doing all this, and I once had done the surgery for the bushes, I was not planning to do any more ovarian circles anymore, or stimulations anymore.
Okay.
And this is why I drawn the line that whatever will be, will be. And as I said, yeah, what really helped was that we had come to a point where we had considered that even if it was just the two of us, we'll be okay.
Oh, I think I'm going to have to pause you there. You have shared there's so many key points in everything you've shared already. And I just want to quickly maybe just sort of highlight them just so that both myself and the listeners are really following your story. It's wow, sounds a bit complex.
It was.
Yeah. Sounds complex. It sounds like a whole lot for one person to go through. So wow. Okay, so the first thing to start from is that just like many other people, you just assumed it was going to happen. Then after a few years, and when people started to ask, then you started to ask also, like, okay, what's going on? Let's get checked out. Um, and you did your research. You went to a hospital, a key hospital in New York that is renowned, world renowned for producing results. On one of your visits there was when you had the epiphany that this thing is a lot more common than maybe you knew or you had acknowledged up until then.
Mm-hmm.
And it was at that point that you decided that your self-worth was not attached to having a child, which is, for me, is a major takeaway. Fast forward to when you were back in the UK, you were diagnosed with endometriosis. Endometriosis is a serious medical condition in and of itself. And in your case, obviously, it was interfering with your fertility journey. And you were also told that the solution was to get pregnant. And so you had to go through various, cycles, stimulatory cycles. And having estrogen pumped into your system was also worsening the endometriosis. Hmm. Okay. And so fast forward to you deciding where we're at now, which is that, okay, I have to deal with this condition. It's affecting my bowels. It's sort of more complicated now. I need to have surgery. Um, so let me deal with that while I also then proceed with one more one more cycle with a specialist now in Spain. So this is now a different country, who has decided that, okay, even though there are many success rates with frozen embryos, he was willing to use your own embryo. So that's where we're at right now. So, like, even without proceeding, there's just so much. There's the medical condition, which is endometriosis that you're dealing with. There's the personal relationship, obviously, with your husband, where, you have to make decisions together. Is it just going to be the two of us? Are we okay with that? There's the financial, because obviously traveling to the traveling to the US, traveling
How
to
we have been
Spain.
not bankrupt, I have no idea. And
Oh,
we had, that's to say, we had support from friends, family,
hmm,
and this is you'd, and you see, and I think that whole thing about surround yourself with people who see you,
hmm.
who see you,
Surround
not
yourself with people who see you.
because it's not the stuff around you. It's not, sometimes I think, as I said, this whole journey also taught us about value, worth, what is true,
Hmm,
as in being real and what is true. Because quite a lot of people, we're going to be like, oh, we're friends, as long as things are going good and we're all in the same place and we carry ourselves together,
mm-hmm.
that makes it. But whereas there'll be some core people that actually, no matter how your life turns out to be, no matter what you decide, because we're not the same. And that's why more than anything, people have to find their own way around life. It's your own journey, own your own story. You can't look at somebody else's life and think that's what you're going to be doing or that's it. The Bible says those who compare themselves with others
Are not
are not
wise.
wise. It's complete foolishness because their journey is not your journey. To make that comparison. So, and sometimes you'll be worrying about, so find people that actually see you, be there for you. So sometimes don't even get to. Sometimes you said there's a friend that sticks closer than a brother, and actually understand that because it's actually those are the people that are real core family.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that people share blood does not necessarily mean love is a choice. People choose to love, so it's all those are the things that I was learning fast and quick through this whole. I'm not even sure if it was.
Oh
I don't know.
my.
Like I'm not sure how quick it was, but over time
Quick
I did learn
enough.
that.
Yeah.
I did learn that.
Okay,
So
so
you
now
have to
that you're at the
stay
place where
close
you're
to
gonna
people.
have the surgery.
Yeah, so consultants, we're going to have surgery, and then it turns out the fact I didn't even know how bad it was. So consultant said that this if you're doing this, that this is quite risky. In fact, the first consultant we saw was one who said that the whole of my bowel and the back of my womb had been fused when he had a look in, and I didn't even know that bit. I was maybe as I said, pain threshold. Yes, I had, and I think I just put up with things. And this is the other thing about listening to your body. It's
Mm,
so important. Sometimes we need to take the breaks, take the
mm-hmm.
rest, do the checks. It's
Mm-hmm.
so important. Sometimes we're carrying off running on a rat race, chasing stuff that don't in the long term matter. They don't.
Yeah.
So in terms of that, I had the surgery and I had to have an ileostomy. So basically, when they cut the bit of the bowel as well, they had to anastomose the end rectum, and I had to have a pouch out from the small bowel area so that that bit could heal. And for me, the miracle is that's done, and then 3 months later, I had to have that reversed.
Mm-hmm.
So it was, and now it's like we forget that I even went through that. And God being so good, that happened without complications because it could have all, it could,
The risk of
things that can go wrong.
complications is quite high.
When you think that the situation
Oh.
is so bad, there are lots of people going through a lot more. In fact, and the
Yeah.
one thing our journey taught us was actually to be more outward looking. Because you
Hmm.
think if you focus on yourself and think that, oh God, what I'm going through is so. As I said, when I got to America and I just saw people, and I'm like, other people are going through
Mm,
stuff. It might not be fertility, it could be anything else.
mm-hmm.
But you stop focusing on you
Mm-hmm.
and be more outward looking, thinking about how you could help other people, how you could be there for other people, because those things, they too might be going through things. So, as God will have it, and I'm grateful to Him, I was able to have the reversal 3 months later. So, I had a whole period of about 6 months of work so that I could, because you first surgery, then you have a recoup from
Yeah.
that, and then, and then after that, you have the second surgery to do the reversal, and then and I won't even go into bits of obviously health
Do,
conditions where you
do
have
you
an
know, I
infection
have
and
to
you.
pause you there because when you talked about having the ileostomy, like my I don't know if you noticed, but my face probably fell because, like, that's a lot. That's a major surgery where some people don't recover from. A lot of people have a lot of complications. I guess because, you're a medical doctor but
That's another thing. Yeah, I could have.
as
So
a
I'm so blasé
person,
about some things.
yeah, it's not, and yes, I think maybe the perspective of, being outward looking and all, I understand that. But then in terms of as a person, as an individual dealing with all of this, that's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot on your body. It's a lot on your mind. It's a lot on your psyche. It's a lot. You went through a lot. And this is even sort of like a divergence from the main journey. So if the main journey was okay, I'm trying to
Yeah,
get pregnant and have a baby. This was okay.
yeah,
This was like a side road, like okay, before you get there. And this
yeah.
side road is a difficult one. So wow.
I mean, my husband was scared. He was, while I was still thinking, I would like to have surgery. I mean, we still had a couple more cycles before we even had the surgery because and understandably so. As I
Yeah.
said, I recognize that being a medic, I am a bit blasé about these things because I commonize it because fine, maybe I've been in theater and I've
Mm-hmm.
seen, so I don't think too much about it. But I can understand the layperson thinking about all this with fear.
So what I wanted to say, I think another, you talked about how it's common a lot of people go through. There's nothing new under the sun, really. But what I found as a physician, swapping roles and becoming a patient, I didn't enjoy
Yeah.
it at all. So there
Oh,
was a lot of cognitive dissonance, like in your mind. Like you've said, you've been in theater, you know what these conditions are, you know what it is, how to treat it, blah de blah. But actually going through it, feeling the pain, going through the surgery, having to face anesthesia, I didn't find it funny.
there was
Like,
times.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's in a
Yeah.
way, I actually feel as though people like maybe healthcare professionals or whoever has been exposed to that sort of thing, maybe from a care perspective, when you then have to go through it and be the person cared for, it might
Yeah.
actually be a bit more dangerous because, like you've said, you've commonalized it. You think it's blasé. You've taken things for
Yeah.
granted, but you
Yeah.
shouldn't.
Yeah, I agreed.
Yeah,
I agreed. I'll tell you this story. I came out of surgery. I was back home. My parents were around me. They're both late now, but I remember this quite well. I back home was like, this is 3 days in, and then they were just coming downstairs. I was just going to go open the door, get the guy in. He was going to do some boiler work, and here I am just carrying on as normal, as if what surgery? I literally, even the guy who was supposed to come in, I literally just, I don't know what happened, passed out.
mm,
What my parents were catching me.
mm,
You can't even, they were in fear. I was like, and I came out, I'm like, okay, I'll contact my doctor.
yeah,
Cough, cry for that. Wow. So it's just, and I realized, oh my God, I, I don't know how much this is fearful for them, in
yeah,
that sense. Whereas I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm round. Okay, that's fine. Okay, I'll get to see my GP, and get that done. But so as I said, I appreciate that it is quite, and this is why I am openly sharing this story
yeah,
because I'm fiercely private.
yeah. I
But I
know.
realize,
Thank you for
I
coming
realize
on.
that sometimes people might be daunted by the fear of what they are facing.
Mm,
And I say all this to actually say sometimes you have to walk through it, even with the fear.
mm,
That's what courage is.
mm-hmm,
That's what courage
mm-hmm,
is. People that are courageous is not because there isn't any
mm-hmm.
fear, but you
It's
push through
despite the fear. Yeah.
in spite of the fear. In fact, and one of my favorite analogies, I like watching movies, Indiana
Mm-hmm.
Jones, Raiders of the Lost
Yeah.
Ark. What is a walk of faith? It was one of those clues where he had to actually, they literally had to sort of, solve puzzles or riddles to
Mm-hmm.
get to, find in his journey to find the Lost
Yeah.
Ark. And it was literally about putting one foot in front of the other, and the step would appear.
Mm-hmm.
That was what it was. And that is what our walk of faith is
Mm-hmm.
really. And that's what life is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I start in this whole journey, I got revelations about things like, where if you think about the fact that God had paid the price for our salvation,
Mm-hmm.
and that salvation is, he said, it was bruised for our
Yeah.
iniquities, and the chastisement of our pain was upon him, and by his stripes we are healed. So we get that forgiveness of sin and healing in one go.
Yeah.
It's all together. It's a complete
Mm.
package. So no matter what, so even as this, in the same way we are striving for perfection, we are worrying about, oh, I could do better. In the same way in our health, he's paid that price. We have the
Mm.
health. We have the salvation. We have it. So it's all in one
Yeah.
package in that sense. And if you walk through life, and that's how, those were things that I learned, and they're revelations to me in that sense, that they became real in that
Yeah.
sense. Those are the things I held on to, that God has already done it. And even if you don't believe it, God, doesn't matter. It makes no, it's like we are being, and we are walking through life. It's our job. One foot in front of the other.
One foot
It's
in
already
front of
done.
the other.
One foot in front of the other.
Wow. So
Take
back to
each.
after you had the surgery and you finally recovered from it, the next thing was to have the embryo transfer.
Embryo
Okay.
transfers. Yes. So going back to that, we had to go to have embryo transfer. So we did the first one, and that didn't work. Yep, crushing.
Mm. Yeah, but then this is the first one. This is not the first one overall. This is the first one after the
This is
surgery,
after the surgery. So
because this
like,
is like
never mind, never
all
mind the
the
13
others you
cycles we've
had.
already gone
Yeah.
through. First ever after the surgery,
Yeah.
didn't work.
Still in this clinic in Spain.
This is a clinic in
Okay.
Spain. So as I said, throughout we had a whole journey, and that's why the whole journey by team. So it was a long time. It was a good. We had our baby or 5 years or something. So at least a good 13-year journey
Mm.
of
Of trying.
actually having
Yeah.
treatments. What we had been trying for 17 years.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
yeah, of actually having treatments. So
Mm. Okay.
I mean, yeah. So and I said, for me, we had also started asking ourselves questions. I mean, and this is why I say this whole thing about being a mother, or we started looking at ourselves, looking outward.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Parenting. What does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, it's mentoring. What does that mean? Because even when you were trying to have a child, the child is only ever lent to you. It's a person.
Mm-hmm.
God is just giving you someone that's a conduit. So those are the things I say to people about. It's not the end of be all. Is not about being. It's easy to. I suppose people might say, "Oh, it's easy to say you had your baby," but
Mm.
in the grand scheme of things, my mom used to say to me that when I was younger, I was always saying I'll adopt. That I didn't want to have too many children. I was the first of five, and I was like, after I was like, Mom, this is enough. She wanted to have 24. And I'm like, because already by the time you're in the first born role, you're already looking after
Mm-hmm.
everywhere. So I'm like, oh, I don't want that many. Guess
Mm.
one or two, thank you. You know, that's it. But and that I used to say that I'll adopt, and I'm open to that,
Mm.
because the whole thing about, I think it's that whole nature of God in us, or maybe just that nature in
Mm.
us, that we want to nurture something. We want to be it even a business or a career, or we want to tend to things. That's the thing. We want to, so even a person, we want to tend to, so yeah, being open to that. I was like,
However it
whatever
falls.
we came,
Yeah.
yes. We had resigned ourselves one way or the other. So I think maybe that's part of what gave me the courage when we did just, let's go and have that surgery. And then, so I remember we had another um, session, as in they are going to put the second embryo in. And then at the same time, so I don't know how, and this is why I said we've been doing lots of research, many other things. So the other clinics as well in London
Mm-hmm.
that when we tried them before, and they talk about things like immunology
Mm-hmm.
and immunes. So you have to either have things like intralipid infusions, so IVIG, immunology infusions. So I was putting all this research in together. So after having this bit with the clinic and they put them right, I was still consulting somebody else, about the inside of things so that I could have those infusions as well. So it was all that together. And then, and having so I think when we had this done and then we were facing another particular challenge at the same time. But when I saw that positive
Hmm.
result, I don't know what I felt because I was like, it was a bit unbelievable. I was like, really? In all of this, that was the first time I was getting a
I was
positive.
about to ask that. Was that your first positive?
I'd never
Wow.
had a positive test.
For those listening, in case you haven't been keeping track, first positive pregnancy test.
First positive pregnancy test.
Wow. And this was with the
So,
second transfer after the
yes.
surgery. And this is how many years later, and you're still not able to describe how you felt. I love it. I love it. Wow.
I, I always say to you that somehow there's the amnesia about it just because I try not to sit and recount and dwell on because it sounds like it was a lot. I mean, even I'm struggling to put the whole story chronologically because if I had to go by, it was a long story. So I've tried to just compress and just give you the nuggets of
Yeah.
it. So yeah, but it didn't really end there because before we even 6 weeks or I went back to work. It's a whole bit of negotiating with work as well. Because obviously, and that's the other thing. It's the whole bit about having anybody who's going through treatment knows how
Yeah.
disruptive. You literally have to plan a lot and just it's very
Yeah.
disruptive. This work balance. So it's so yeah. So I thank God I was fortunate that I had a place I was working where I was working at. They're very understanding, so they did give some space, and you have to there's a balance. So and this is just having the conversation with them and okay, I'm going to do this for a bit. I can have a few weeks here,
Yeah.
and you work around holidays and
Yeah.
just put everything together. So anyway, I get back to work. This is into the fourth week before we even have a 6 week scan. And then all of a sudden I start bleeding. I literally walked up to my colleague. Well, she was a senior partner then. I wasn't even a partner by that time, so I walked up to her and said, "I've just stepped in." She just said, "Please go home." She literally just let me. I had to go home, go and get scans, and then they had a scan and they saw that the embryo was still in there, but there was a bit of a hematoma beside it. So I suppose also when and this is the other thing about the immunes, you're taking aspirin, you're injecting clexane, you're having steroids, there's all of that you're doing. And when they saw that they basically said I need to be on bed rest. So I had to have bed rest for to get me up to 3 months.
Okay. So for those that might be interested, or this is what you would call a threatened miscarriage, isn't it?
Yes,
So a threatened
absolutely.
miscarriage is where there's a
So
risk
that's
that you would miscarry the growing
yeah.
embryo.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, that was it. What? So yeah, so I had the bed rest for the bits, and then at the 12 week scan.
So you
So
on bed
by this
rest
time,
for 3 months.
yeah, about it was because by the time it was coming from, I wasn't yet at the 6 weeks. It was to be
Mm.
5 weeks.
About
But
2.5 months.
so a couple of
Yeah.
months, yeah, yeah, yeah. So I had to basically just be attached to, well, when I say bed rest, I was at home
You're
on the
supposed to
couch,
be on the bed,
I'm
patient.
supposed to be in bed. Patient, exactly. Just lie down there, nothing straight, just run
Yep.
up and down. That's it. So yeah. So that was what was happening. And then it was even then that was my 40th. So by this time I had wanted to travel,
Mm.
but then with all of this happening, so oh yeah, that's fine. I can put the travel
Yeah.
away.
Vacation.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
welcome.
Vacation
If
can
you
always,
can
yeah, can
wait.
always
You're
wait.
exploring the world, can
Yeah.
wait. So yeah. So after, so by the 12 week scan, so we had scans in between, and then obviously the hematoma was shrinking, so it was, and I had to stop some
Thankfully.
aspirin, and so thankfully, and then at the 12 week scan, you have this, and I mean, I've dropped things like the excitement of even just hearing the heartbeat, because when you go for that,
Mm-hmm.
you, it was more about, okay, this this baby has to
Yeah.
stay, and yeah. So by this time was, you were telling her, they're like, okay, fine, it's fine, it's okay, that it's
Mm-hmm.
there, it's good, it's beating well. Okay, sure, we can get back to carrying on. No, you just okay, that's fine. We keep going, but so it was still very cautious, and and in fact, I think for a while I still couldn't believe it.
Mm.
So you know how you go for the scan and then you see the defecation, and then I go away, and then I'm like, is he really still there?
Mm-hmm.
Then I was like, I think I need to go for another scan. I'm like, you just came from. And this is the part where you talk about being a medic and being, so at this point you're like, oh yeah, you're being blasé, but actually as a patient, it's a
Very
different ball game as
different.
well,
Yeah.
because you as a person, you're like, okay, I don't know, right? Yeah. So yeah, so that was
So you came off bed rest at 3 months.
okay. Yeah, 3 months
And
carried on. And then yeah, I think the rest of it was uneventful because I didn't have any. I was just doing the meds as I should. I didn't have any vomiting. It was okay.
so it
Um,
was the rest of the pregnancy was uneventful, as we would say.
it was. So I had the baby at 38 weeks by cesarean, because by the time I see my obstetrician and giving her my whole
Mm-hmm.
background story, she was like, okay. Also giving the surgery
Mm-hmm.
I had,
Because that was a major
received.
abdominal surgery.
It
Yeah.
was major. So she was like, and obviously they also, because they worked around the vaginal
Mm-hmm.
area and got direct to vaginal pouch that was treated that stuff. So she was like, the last thing she would want to worry about is if you were trying to have the baby per vaginal and then having a
Yeah.
tear or something that, that
Or a
sort of thing, because
rupture, God
naturally,
forbid.
yeah, and having a
Yeah.
tear or vaginal tear, and they could also worry about things like
Yeah.
fistulas. So she said none of that. Have a planned. So they had an elective cesarean section planned. So um, yeah. So I mean, coming up to this point, by the time I took my maternity leave, about
Mm.
34 weeks thereabouts. But then, and this is why I said life just keeps happening, because around this time, my mom had come for surgery before and had some surgery, but by the other time, my mom took ill,
Mm.
and then we had to get her in. She was in hospital having surgery. I had to be going up and down. So my maternity period was still, that period before having Femi was up to hospital back, and
Yeah.
so at some point I said, like, oh, getting closer to time, I was like, I'm not sure I'm feeling baby movements, my legs are swelling, this sort of thing. So I had to get into the hospital and spend a week before we actually had the, so because my consultant was like, just come in, I want them to monitor, I'll admit you ahead of time, I want them to be monitoring the
Mm-hmm.
baby and having scans. So we did that. By this time, my mom had come and had her own surgery, and she was recovering because she was diagnosed with cancer at the time. So
Mm.
there was quite a lot going on. Um, but yeah,
But you
but as
overcame.
God would have it, we had the baby. So I was in hospital, and then we had our baby cesarean section. My husband was with me. He came out, and they hand the baby to
Mm-hmm.
you, and it's magical. Yeah, yeah, but I think, I think that's the whole journey. By this time, I think we were ready.
Mm.
That's because one way or the other, along the way, we had come to a point of surrender.
Mm.
That no matter what it was, that we are still loved by
Mm.
God. We were good enough. We were
Mm-hmm.
enough on
Mm-hmm.
ourselves. Our worth was not tied to whether
Mm.
we had this baby
Yeah.
or not. Our worth was not tied, and if it was about pouring our energy and love into it, and this is where you practice actual nurturing. Be nurturing to people
Mm.
around you. practice just that whole thing of, because love is giving, is a sacrifice, is, you know. So the other day you're asking me, pressure about, the next one, if anybody said, I'm like, what pressure? Where is the pressure going to? I can't even feel it, because I already know that this was a miracle on its own. I already know it had nothing to do. As in, I can't say it was anything. I had given up on giving up. We are powerless. We were just putting one foot in front of the other to go through what we went through. There was, and that's the approach of taking through with life. That you can't. All the power belongs to God. It's not of
Please say that
ourselves.
again.
All
Please
it's
say it
true.
again.
It's all the power belongs to God.
All the
It's
power
not of
belongs
ours.
to God.
It's not of ourselves. And even if you don't believe in God, because I mean, you might hear a lot of me talk about God and faith, is because that is my outlook and that's how I see life, and that is, and it's a real part of my own life. But even if you say you don't believe, it does not change who He is, or who He, or it doesn't change anything about how life works out. It's either you're aware or not aware, or you believe or you don't believe. You're still loved. You're still special. You're still, even if, and it doesn't matter about your religion, your race, your affiliations, or what you believe or don't believe. The real truth is that we, as humans, we do think we have
I like
control.
that. We think we think we have.
There's a semblance of choice of control. We can try to, it's the fact that none of this is in our control. It's we are powerless, or but we can live with, you know the acceptance, or with the fact that, with the belief that whatever you're doing, or whichever step you take, find what it means for you. Live, in terms of life, because if you, as I say, you cannot live someone else's journey. You can't, and there is always hope. There is always, as long as there's breath, as long as there's life, is always hope. You put one foot in front of the other. Information is powerful. Getting information, asking questions, those, so important. Um, Maybe more so, actually. Really, like, okay, why this? What, just dare to think, okay, what do I need to do differently? Because if something is not working, you think, okay, what else? What can I do differently? What, in that sense, and finding joy in, find things that make you happy, because a positive, joyful spirit is so important. I mean, the world now is so into mental health and things. That is one of the things, scriptures that I actually meditated on that helped me, was perfect peace He gives to those whose minds are stayed on Him. It's one thing that, even when tumultuous things are happening around you, when things get really beyond your control, you really, I mean, storms of life, as they call them, you have to actually have that, just the sense of peace inside you,
Yeah.
that all the things around you, they don't matter. This journey, this life is a journey. It can seem long or brief, but it really is a journey. It's not the things that we attach to, we hold on to. They're not. Yeah,
Wow, can I give is
they're
it okay
outside of
to
us.
like I've literally been on the edge, like I've been sitting forward. I have to like readjust. Wow. You really took me on the journey of, well, specifically infertility, because that's what we're talking about and that's what we're focusing
Yeah,
on. But, just a part
yeah,
of your life, really, part of your life's journey. And it's filled with, if we were to make your life into a movie, to be really exciting because Hey, you know that started the movie analogies. I've been on the edge of my seat. I haven't really interrupted, because even when, like I had some questions I wanted to ask, you already answering them. Like what you did at the end, where you kind of really summarized everything and talked about how life is a journey and how God has all the power and how we are special and we are loved, and no matter where we're from or what we look like. And you had talked about the place of faith where you take a step at a time in the face of adversity. Because somebody could ask, if God has all the power, then why do I have to do anything? I should just sit down and do nothing. But the answer to that would be, you do what you can do, you do what you should do, you face your fears and you face the challenges with a healthy dose of faith, even if your faith is as tiny as a mustard seed.
As tiny, yeah, that's it.
You
As
still,
tiny. You just need a
yeah,
little.
you still, work it,
Just yeah,
you know.
yeah. Just
Yeah,
yeah.
wow.
And joy. And
Oh yes, I
joy.
love the part about joy,
And joy. Find
because I
joy.
do find
Yeah.
that and I'm sure you would also know from your interactions with colleagues and with friends and with infertility, the struggles of infertility, one of the first things it does to people is sucks out the joy. It sucks it out, like
Yes.
it rings, like it squeezes out
Yeah.
every bit of pleasure you get from life. Many people are depressed and
And
unhappy.
yeah, I may be smiling now, but if my husband were here, he will tell you about the tears.
Oh, do you know we can have an entire series on the tears?
On
On
tears. He will tell
Yeah,
you about the tears.
so yeah, I
So
completely understand.
yeah, even if it's like communizing and we are trying to encourage, it's not to
Mm-hmm.
minimize the pain
Mm-hmm.
or the tears
Mm-hmm.
you have. In fact, in all of this, I learned one more another nugget I learned. You know how one groan from God from the can reach the throne. This is another saying we used to like a
Mm.
groan. So sometimes because you get even to do that, okay, you say you pray a lot, and you've done all your homework, you do everything. But nowadays I'm not even sure I can pray so much. I just go, Lord, because
Yep.
inside you have this. I mean, you can't even put into words what you have to
Mm-hmm.
say anymore.
Yeah.
Never mind just, oh, I'm trying to
Mm-hmm.
have a baby. Any other thing that it's even if you feel, you feel like we are all still going through it. We're trying to either birth
Mm-hmm.
something, a vision or a business or something. You're trying to birth something. You're trying to do something,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is. We are all still somewhat going through it. So I'm now speaking particularly to those who even feel that weight of going through
Yeah.
infertility. That use the pain as energy to do more. Don't let it hold
Mm.
you down. Don't let it squeeze the joy out of you. Don't use that pain as energy. Turn it into energy to do more. Because as I said, we talk about this now, but I mean, when you see people sitting and talking and they're laughing at them, you're not
Mm-hmm.
minimizing that. There will be tears,
Mm-hmm.
there will be pain, as with anything. And that is why I said I embrace it all.
Mm.
I own because sometimes you might need to do the tears and feel the feeling, but don't wallow there. Don't wallow there. Pick yourself up, find the joy, music, dance, anything that makes you happy.
I'm just
Find the
humming.
joy.
I'm just humming because I'm feeling it's taking me back to my own journey, and I'm like, yeah, that's actually really sound advice. You have to just move. You just have to use the pain as a driver to move, put one foot in front of the other.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
but
yeah,
wow, but thank you, thank you, thank you.
love yourself. God loves you.
Love yourself. God loves you. Work through the pain, put one step in front of the other. Um, Try and find your joy.
Surround yourself with positive people
Yeah.
because yeah, the naysayers or the people who will try and give you guilt or thing or pressure, and don't let anybody put pressure on you.
Easier said than
That
done,
part.
though. But yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
I agree. But that's why I said it needs to be, because as I said, I was saying to you that word pressure. It's from a place of learning, and even, I mean, anyway, we talk. But the point, yeah, it's from a place of learning that it's not that you don't feel it, but you start to learn and remind yourself that, hold on, it's beyond my control. So why am I feeling this pressure? I should,
Well, one would
it's easier said than
argue
done.
that perhaps you had to get to the place of realization that it's um it's beyond your control by getting all the pressure. If you didn't have the pressure in the first place, maybe you wouldn't get there.
As I said, yeah, exactly. You're right. It's the journey. The journey
Yeah,
taught me something. I don't
yeah.
know. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ono. It's been great having you. Um,
Yes. Thanks for having
Man,
me, Ernest. It's great talking to
I'm
you.
so glad. I'm so glad you did this. I'm so glad you shared your journey. So many takeaways. Like, but I'm sure that our listeners, well, I know I have, been inspired, even though I'm no longer on that journey of infertility. Talk less of those that are still on the journey, because there's so many nuggets of wisdom that you've shared. So thank you for sharing. I know people will be inspired. They'll be able to move, at least take that next step, whatever the next step may be for them. Maybe we'll have you back on another episode sometime in future. It's always good to have that door open. And it's good to say it while you're here on the show so that you have to say, yes, you come back.
Oh
Great.
yeah, anytime.
It worked. It worked. Thank you. I think you are, well, you're the real deal. Yeah, you're the real deal. And sharing your story has been a blessing to me. I know it will be the same for many people listening. And I heard your little boy in the background. I think it's time to release
Oh,
you. He's lent you to us for a bit, so enjoy the rest of your day. And to our listeners, thank
thank you.
you for listening. Um, on your behalf, I say thank you to Ono because I'm sure you're glad you listened, and you'll join us on the next episode for sure, learning how to overcome infertility. Bye for now, and see you again soon. Bye.